And I wanted to explain to you guys in this video that total world domination starts first with this climate change initiative. I know we don't see it as being the base by which total world domination will happen, but I want to explain to you guys in this video that the ultimate result and ultimate aim of the climate change initiatives is not to save the planet, but to take over the planet. So I'm gonna be telling you guys what's coming from it. I know a lot of people believe in it, and I also agree with a lot of the tenets, such as you know getting rid of plastics, at least cutting down on the plastics because they don't biodegrade, and getting back to a more wholesome and natural way of living. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of the reasons people are dying is because we just have a very, very, very toxic world that we've created. So the climate change people are going to tap into the fact that all of us want to go back to a more natural, wholesome, holistic way of living, and they're going to tap into our desire for that, and they're going to push this agenda that is going to be very, very, very detrimental to everyone. Like I said, the reason a lot of people are going to be on board is because it does sound like the right thing. It's the right thing to do. Cut down on plastics, emissions, pollution. Who loves pollution? No one. Especially when it happens to waters, especially when it happens, people are being, poisoned in their water because of fracking. Like, who wants that? So it's going to sound really, really good to a lot of people. And I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be any initiatives to push certain things. Like, maybe we can cut down on the amount of plastics we use, and maybe use a little bit more paper. I get it, because right now I'm living in a state where you go to the supermarket and you can't have any plastic bags in the supermarket. Also, I'm living in a state too, which is disgusting. You have to use at a fast food restaurant, all of the straws have to be paper, and it's so nasty. Paper tastes different than plastic. So when you have a plastic straw, it usually doesn't have a taste on your tongue, whereas paper, because it's so organic, it does. Does that make sense? It's so organic, it almost throws off whatever you're drinking, because it has its own flavor. Because wood has a smell, like that hickory, that smoked smell, like wood has a smell. So you really just can't use plastic straws. It just, like, I remember we went traveling, and I went to the Chick-fil-A, and the Chick-fil-A had plastic straws, and I took my sip, and I was like, oh, it has no taste, the plastic. It was so much better, but I get why so many states are implementing these things. It's just a lot of waste. And obviously paper does break down, it does biodegrade. Plastic doesn't. It takes such a long time to biodegrade plastic. So I get a lot of why there are going to be so many initiatives coming forward in the next 10-20 years that are going to be pushing for a lot of these things. But I want people to really, really, really be careful, especially people in power, like the body of Christ. Like, as Christians, we have to know, we have to not see what someone is telling us. We have to see the truth in it. And we also have to look at the effect of what someone's going to do, right? So a lot of, the things that people, social initiatives that they've pushed, have usually turned out to be detrimental. So anything the government has pushed in the last 40 years, a lot of it has been very wasteful, and then they don't actually ever hit their goals. So it's always been like a waste. So I wanted to tell you guys, as a watchwoman, what you should know this climate change initiative is going to cause. So I don't know. I don't have any time on this. I don't know when these things are going to happen. I don't know when they're going to actually take place. But I can tell you that as this thing progresses and as it goes forward, it's going to become very dictatorship like. So everything is going to become sustainable. Do you guys know that we are not sustainable? Humans, like the human species, we're not sustainable. This idea is going to be pushed, and it's going to keep going. It's not going to stop. So I want to tell you guys, as a watchwoman, what is the real plan? What is the real purpose behind the climate initiative and the climate change and all of these things that they're pushing? Because we sort of understand and we sort of feel within ourselves that something is not right, but we can't really tell what it is. So let me tell you what it is. It's going to keep going until you can't fish in lakes. Some people fish, some people don't. But fishing is just like a natural right. That's going to be illegal all over the globe. Now, I don't know what time. That could be 50 years. It could be 100 years from now. But what I'm saying is that what they're doing starting now is going to make it so that anything natural is going to be illegal. So you can't fish. I know that doesn't matter to a lot of people, but it will. Then you won't be able to own land. Owning your own land is highly inefficient. We all know this. It's more efficient and it's more sustainable to live in a high rise. You can fit hundreds of families in a tall 20-story building, right? Whereas you owning an acre of land by yourself with, you and your husband or your wife and your kids, an acre, 2 acres, 20 acres, that's illegal. That's greedy. That's inefficient, and that's not sustainable. Do you guys see what I'm saying with this? Like, it's going to keep going until you can't do anything. The next thing that I received as a download is that you want me to burn wood. So anyone who lives off grid, or anyone who's into natural things, you're not going to be able to burn wood in a wood stove, because burning wood is not efficient. It's not sustainable. You're cutting down trees. You're using trees to create, fire, and fire's creating heat, and that's not sustainable. So burning wood is going to be illegal. Also, to add to that, cutting down a tree is going to be illegal. You cannot cut down a tree, because obviously that's not sustainable for you to cut down a tree. Even if you're going to cut down a tree to burn wood on your own property, that's illegal. You can't cut down a tree, because that's not sustainable for the rest of the environment and for the rest of the planet. So you're not going to be able to cut down a tree on your own property. So cutting down a tree is going to be illegal. And by that very measure, owning a physical book is going to be illegal. Because trees, you're cutting down all of these trees to create a book. So having a physical book, printing presses, are going to largely be illegal. And we can kind of see where that's going to go. It's going to take us to the point where all books are going to be digital. If all books are digital, then there can be a command center that decides which books can be produced and which books can't. So we're going to have basically a virtual book burning, where some people will be published and other people won't. And then if you have information that you want to get out, there are going to be no physical places where you can have a document printed, because it's going to be illegal for the good of society, right? We can't have people printing books and having printers at home. No. We can't allow people to do that, because it's not sustainable, right? So they're going to push a lot of these initiatives. At first, to us, it's going to seem very wholesome. They always hide their agendas behind a good idea, a noble cause. So they'll never tell you we're gonna make sure. The whole point of this, and I hope that it's clear in the video, I hope you guys are kind of seeing where it's gonna go. It's to make sure you can't live without them. So if you can't own land, you have to go into a high rise, right? Because you can't, they're going to say it's not sustainable for one family to live on an acre, 2, 3 acres, 20 acres, 100 acres. That's not sustainable, right? So everything that they're going to do is going to be centered around sustainability. Kids. Now, they're already making sure that chemically kids, people are, the fertility rate is dropping. So even without them telling us that we can't have kids, they've already sort of chemicalized a lot of the foods and a lot of the things that we intake and a lot of the water supply. Sperm rates have been dropping over the past 20, they're at the all-time low. So there's a lot going on as far as that goes. And what we're going to see is that they're probably going to tell us in, 10 years, you can't have more than, and they probably won't say it explicitly. Like it probably won't be a law, but I think what they're going to do is make it socially unacceptable for people to have more than one kid. And even that one child is going to be excessive. So we're going to see a lot of different things. Picking an apple from a tree. You won't be able to like take anything from nature. It's going to be very, very, very difficult in the future. So I think the body of Christ can, at this point, really begin to plan what they're going to do and how they're going to live and how their kids are going to live for the next 20 years. If you begin to buy land and do all of these things now, it's going to be really hard for them to say you can't own that land. But what will happen in the future is that you won't be able to buy land. So while we have the opportunity and the ability and the rights to do those things now, I believe that now is the time. I have heard that for a very long time, that a lot of places are going to be wilderness reserves, and you won't be able to buy land there. You won't be able to own anything there, or even probably move around in those areas. I also saw that there were documents available that basically got rid of a lot of highways. So there are going to be a lot of highways that are going to disappear, and it was just a bunch of things. So there's going to be a huge consolidation. They're already planning for this. I'm not saying anything that's not available. Does that make sense? So all of this stuff is available. You can like look at documents of it. I'll put what it's called on the screen. And these things are already in the works. They're already being planned. It's just how they're going to get there. So we've been taught that, the sustainability and all of these things are great things. I believe in some of them and I understand. However, understand that this is going to create a situation where people are going to be sort of forced into cities. And they're going to be forced into cities, into high rises. High rises are efficient ways to live, but they are very, very detrimental to mental health. And if what's happening in China and in Hong Kong and all of these places are an example of what happens to people when they live in these high rises. It's just not mentally healthy. We need to be in nature. We have to be around nature. We have to be around green spaces. All of those things benefit our health. They know that just looking at a picture of a nature scene can actually calm people down, like it calms their heartbeat down. Just looking at a picture of green space. So we can't put everyone in high rises. It's just not healthy, and it doesn't make any sense. So that's really all I have for today. Oh, I do want to mention that even though it's coming where you probably can't own land, if you begin to buy land right now, there's not much that they're going to be able to do to get you off of that land. So I know that they're probably going to use force. Only thing I can say is, start buying it now before it becomes illegal. Because there is going to be a situation where they're going to push an agenda, and they're going to push it so hard that everyone is going to say it's the right thing to do, like they did with COVID. Everyone shut down the economies, and it was like, you're killing grandma, so you're killing nature if you own a acre of land. Like, they're going to make it so socially unacceptable for you to be self-sufficient. To the body of Christ, this is very important. We don't have a lot of time left, those of us who are believers. I know that a huge, huge, huge portion of Christians believe that they're going to be raptured out. And that is a great, great, great belief. It's just not biblical. It's just not biblical that we're going to be raptured out. And I always err on the side of caution to say, you know what, hey, if I'm raptured out, I don't believe in a pre-trib rapture. But if it does happen, yay, I'm gone. But if it doesn't happen, I'm prepared. Does that make sense? So even if you don't believe that there's going to be a post-tribulation rapture,